What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So, I want you guys to hear something that Shawn Porter has to say. And of course, I will take it over from there.
Hasim Rahman Jr. fighting Jake Paul. First off, let me get your thoughts about the matchmaking of the fight. Do you feel that there's a particular reason why they picked him? Because I have some things that I've been thinking in my head, and I don't know if I'm like too far off.
No, you're not off. Your thoughts are the same as mine. They're picking a fighter that practically just got knocked out.
Okay, yeah.
That's
I was like, there's a reason why they're picking him, because he got knocked out in his last fight.
But even beyond that, he's in a higher weight. They're gonna ask him, force him to pull his weight down, and you know, I don't know how Jake Paul, to be as young as he is, he's very business savvy, and then somehow, some way, he's very business savvy in the sport of boxing. Let's say
well, you see Floyd, the career of Floyd, the career of Canelo.
To give you a hypothetical,
yeah.
Let's say Hasim Rahman and his camp are like, they understand that he's trying to get us to suck ourselves down. We're only gonna go here. They'll massage it. Jake Paul, they'll massage it. They'll cancel the fight, and they'll massage it and make it all Hasim's fault, and they won't take the rap for anything. You know what I mean? Like, he really has a way of doing this so that he's kind of like covered all of the bases. You know what I mean? So even if you take a look at the rehydration clause, he's covering all of his bases. You know what I mean? So the fight as a whole, I've known Rock for a while. My dad's trained Rock maybe once, and you know, he has to work hard in preparation for this fight. He cannot take Jake Paul lightly, and he has to be ready to go the distance and remain upwards to 90% through the distance of the fight. We all come to the ring 100%, if 98, 99, 90, 97%. But as the course of that fight goes on, it ticks down. Now we're at 98. Now we're at 92. Now we're at 93. But the elites, we train to perform at 95% for 100% of the fight. You know what I mean? So those guys that don't train like that or don't know how to train like that, those are the guys that come to the ring and they look gassed after a few rounds, which is what Jake Paul is expecting. So.
A two-part thing. Do you expect Hasim to win? And do you think he's severely handicapped coming into this fight?
I think he's handicapped coming to the fight. I want him to win.
But do you think he's going to win?
I want him to win.
Ooh. So it's tough. You have doubts there.
No, I just want him to win.
You want him to win, but you're not saying that you think he's going to win.
What's the difference if I want?
Well, there's a difference between want or if he's going to do. If he's actually going to win.
Well, I want to be in movies.
Well, it's the same thing, but are you in movies? You are. So that means I
want to be in movies, Marcos.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so
I want a couple million in my bank account also.
I think.
All right, so that's all we need for that. Okay, so I've been saying the same exact things. In terms of Jake and his brother, how they're smart. Do you guys not remember last year me making a video saying the Terrence Crawfords of the world or Luis Ortiz of the world? These guys need to learn from the Paul, from the Paul brothers. Like, what are these guys doing to make money? What are these guys doing to get themselves so popular? And then the fact that they're coming into a sport that you were born into through social media. Their following is not from boxers. Their following is from these people who got to know them through social media. So you can't get mad or hate on Logan or Jake Paul because they're smart. But when I look at what's going on and I'm speaking about it, it's because of what I see. This guy right here, Marco, said he's thinking about things, and Shawn told him, no, you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. This is what I'm telling you guys. Boxing, with all of what's going on, people will say, oh, it's good for the sport because it brings eyes to the sport. But no, when it's done that way, it's not bringing eyes to the sport in a positive way. You look at all these YouTube channels where they have their own little fight leagues. They're out in the park somewhere, out in somebody's backyard somewhere, and they're out boxing, and you read comments, you have people saying, yo, I would have loved to see Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson in his prime. Oh, yeah. Oh, and then people, oh, it don't matter. They fought Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather was 50-0. And it's like, wow. So the casuals don't even realize he fought a retired Floyd Mayweather. Not to mention someone who he's like 40, 50 pounds heavier than. Like, I mean, these guys are not even understanding boxing. If you read comments, people are saying things like, oh, MMA guys would kill a boxer any day of the week. Boxers can only use their hands. Anybody can box, but MMA is a whole different. You know. So when Jake Paul or his brother are calling out MMA guys, old retired MMA guys who had no stand up whatsoever, right? They don't take into consideration these guys are not boxers, man. But because they see them in a boxing ring with boxing gloves getting beat by Jake Paul, they think Jake Paul is better than what he actually is. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when he told Eddie Hearn, well, I'm better than half of the guys on your roster. Eddie put him in his place by telling him he think he was decent at best. But, you know, if Eddie was thinking, Eddie could have said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, which one of my fighters you want to fight? And in fact, don't do the same thing you've been doing. Don't cherry pick the smallest guy on the roster, which is what he would have did. He'd have found a welterweight. He'd have found some really small guy to fight against. And if he doesn't get knocked out, he's going to go with this, oh, I'm a YouTuber. I'm not even a boxer, right? It's a moral victory. Yet, he's claiming to be better than everybody, than half the people on Eddie Hearn's roster. And he's also putting this in people's heads that follow him. And the fact that boxing isn't the attraction that it used to be. You see guys like Kubrat Pulev go in there and stop Frank Mir with like one punch, basically, you know, in the first round of a fight. It's funny because they'll say, oh, but Kubrat Pulev is a boxer, Frank Mir isn't. Well, you know what? You guys fail to realize Jake Paul isn't the most polished boxer, that's for damn sure, but Jake Paul is practicing, he's training. Where these guys that he's fighting, MMA, they're not boxers, they're not training boxing, and they're over the hill. And not only that, when you see that, he gets a pass for that. And like because, well, he's just a YouTuber. If he doesn't look as good as he wants, well, you know, hey man, I'm just a YouTuber, right? But if he wins, then it's, oh, Jake Paul, he beat a real fighter. No, let's look at something. Hasim Rahman, like I told you guys in the last video, he's coming off of a knockout loss to Mackenzie Morrison, Tommy Morrison's son. So why didn't Jake Paul call out the winner? And I checked to make sure this. No, why didn't he call out the winner? Why didn't you call out Mackenzie Morrison? He won the fight. No, you picked the loser of the fight. And again, Hasim Rahman is a heavyweight. So now you're going to have him burn so much weight that he's going to come down to, you know, like your weight class, possibly be dehydrated. Hasim Rahman is very irresponsible on defense, like I told you guys. He slaps with his punches, and he leaves himself open damn near after everything he throws. And even when he rolls and slides with punches, he stands right up. He squares up when he punches. He throws punches, and like he'll throw from the orthodox stance and end up in the southpaw stance. He does a lot of things wrong. So being that, you know, his record is what it is, people are looking at him like, oh, but he's a real fighter. Yeah. He's not that good. Let's just be real. Hasim Rahman Jr. is not that good. Go on YouTube, pull up his fights and watch it. You'll see. Yeah, Aries knows what he's talking about. The guy is not that good. So yes, there is a reason why Jake Paul called him out. So this is what my thing is. You see how like Canelo said he wouldn't consider fighting Jake Paul unless he got better. I get it. You know, but you think some of these fighters would say, hey, Jake Paul, since you think that you're better than actual professional elite fighters, world-class fighters, come fight me. I'm not over the hill. I'm not old. I'm your age. In fact, let's go. Or even if I'm older than you, but I'm still leaps and bounds ahead of you. So if you're that confident in yourself, come fight me. And if all these fighters start to step up, you know what it would do? It would pressure Jake and Logan to shut up. Either put up or shut up. And people will start going, hey, you know, you calling out little Floyd Mayweather. You guys calling out the little retired Floyd Mayweather. You know, you're calling out these older guys. You're calling out guys that's past their prime and no longer competing professionally. You know, Andre Ward hasn't been retired that long. You know, it's been long enough. And according to the fact that if I don't know if Andre Ward is training just to stay in shape or whatever, but I mean, even Andre Ward, you know, if you want to call out somebody, no, he's too young for them to call him out. That's the problem. Like, nah, maybe another 10 years, then we'll call him out. So it would force them to either put up or shut up. And then people would understand, like, all right, man, these guys, you know, why they turn down Andre Ward? Why they turn down, you know, these guys that's active in boxing right now? The thing is, I understand what he's doing. He knows he's not as good as them, but his mouth is making waves. And then they see him win. And when he, like, let's say he beats Hasim Rahman Jr., which he really, honestly, I won't be shocked if he does. Because Hasim Rahman Jr., like I said, he's not that good and he's there to be hit. Okay? And he slaps with his punches, even though he's a heavyweight, he's not that strong. So they handpicked him for that reason. And he sparred with him, so he knows what type of, you know, his style. He's more used to his style, and that's what they'll be studying about him. But on top of that, Hasim Rahman Jr. wasn't even really in shape. Like he said in the video, you know, I was in shape, like, you know, enough to, like, you know, do some work. But Hasim Rahman Jr., it's like this, people. If you walk around, you know, 240, and someone wants you to come down to, like, you know, 190, that's a lot of weight to lose, man. You think that boxers just work magic and, oh, they'll burn it off. No, that's a lot of weight to lose. So you're fighting way under the weight limit that what you normally fight at, you know, and feel comfortable at. And then, like Shawn said, if they don't come down to meet their demands, they'll cancel the whole fight because they're trying to get every possible advantage in their favor, which happens in boxing regardless. And they learned this. So we're going to have this guy, you know, dehydrate himself, come down way lower than what he's used to fighting and where he's comfortable at fighting, you know, and he's coming off of a knockout loss. And we was using him to spar with him just to study the way he fights. This was the plan from the very beginning. And you never even heard an announcement about Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. So basically, Hasim Rahman was supposed to be a replacement. Well, Jake Paul made $40 million last year. $40 million. So the guy's smart. He knows what he's doing. But at the same time, things like this is what make boxing a laughing stock, man. Boxing has gotten to the point you have people with pot bellies and receding hairlines and the whole shit think they can just jump off a couch and jump in the ring, put on a pair of gloves, and they think they can beat the guys in the ring. And you hear it all the time, I beat that guy myself. This is what they say. And when it comes to MMA, oh no, MMA is, yeah, the same way. You know, from what I understand, he's been doing some grappling or whatever. So what are you going to do? You're going to call out who? Another MMA guy who's like, you know, 60 years older. This is what they're doing. So I would like pressure these guys to put their money where their mouth is. Don't go and be the guy old enough to be your grandfather and then turn around and say, oh, I beat such and such and I beat this guy. That's the whole point. We focus on these well-known guys. Build our resume and profile up with these guys that we know are way smaller and not even, you know, competing anymore. Like Floyd doing exhibitions, and most of these other fighters, they're not doing nothing. And Floyd's not training in between. Like he just stay in shape. But as far as when a fight comes up, it's exhibitions, and so he's not training the way he used to. But at the same time, it's like they do that. Now they're training, they're keeping active and keeping busy, and they are learning more. So now they'll take the lowest of the lows, and they're making a ton of money by doing so. Tommy Fury is not a good boxer either. So he's already saying he's going to fight Tommy Fury next. So he's already confident he's going to beat Hasim Rahman Jr. Now, could it backfire? Yeah, it could. But the point is, the strategy of what they're doing is let me take the worst fighters that I can. They have more fights than me, better resumes than me. I'm going to beat them. But again, look at the strategy. You call out the loser. of the fight. And, what does, Mackenzie Morrison have to lose? He's not a well-known fighter. But what does he have to lose? He wouldn't turn the fight down. No. Yeah, I'd come kick your ass and take that money. So, no, he doesn't take Mackenzie Morrison. So it doesn't matter how confident Hasim Rahman talks. He's supposed to be confident. And he's saying how, he's a novice. He's not on my level. And, yeah, okay, he's saying all of that. But at the same time, Hasim Rahman Jr. is not that good of a fighter. I'm telling you guys. So this was strategic. And Jake Paul is going to make a nice check. He's going to get a nice amount of money for this, and basically, and so is Hasim Rahman Jr. But the point is, he's going to get a nice amount of money from this. His credibility doesn't go up in terms of him being a world class or elite fighter. You can say he beat a guy he was supposed to beat. How many times we've seen pro fighters, 25-0, 30-0. You don't know anyone that they fought. And the first time they have a step-up fight, they get their asses handed to them. So it's like, yeah, you beat all of these meatballs. Now that you're in there with a real fighter. So this is what people that don't know who Hasim Rahman Jr. is, which most people don't, trying to figure out, is this a real fighter? Can we really give him credit if he wins? From where Jake Paul comes from in terms of actually being a boxer, yeah, you can give him credit. Because he's beating a guy that has more experience and more fights than him. But again, he's not fighting a good fighter. Don't let that overweigh your common sense to know he's not beating a world-class fighter, man. So, and then if you look at the press conference, man, like it was so childish. Bet me if you think this and this, bet me 100K, bet me this, do this. And just a bunch of arguments and everything, talking about stuff that have nothing at all to do with the fight. People, this is like the new age, the new age of what they call entertainment in the fight game. I don't find it entertaining. I'm too grown up for that shit, man. I mean, you talking about how much money we want to bet and how you in the gym, you was this and that, and oh, I did this to you. I got footage. I'm going to show the footage, but never show the footage. Like all of this, just like it's like a bunch of kids, man. It's just like, okay, here we go. And then Hasim Rahman Jr. did something that I really respected. He said, I'm not even going to feed into this whole nonsense you doing. I'm coming to whoop your ass, plain and simple. I don't care about none of this other stuff you talking about. And that is what I'm so bored of in boxing. These fake beefs, this whole, and that's the thing. It was no beef. It's just the whole, I'm going into business for myself to try to sell my portion of this fight to where people going to look at me and go, oh, okay, so he did this and he did that. And it's all just like little kids, man. Just like, why do we need to pretend we have a beef? No, man, it's what we do. We signed up for this. It's like you go get a goddamn CDL and there, you get a job driving trucks, and when it comes time for you to drive, you're going to sit here and say, hey, man, look, I don't feel like taking this run. Why should I have to take this run? Well, because that's what you signed up for. That's what we hired you for, and that's what you get paid to do. Well, what if I don't feel like driving the truck? I mean, like a bunch of stupid questions. This is the same thing. You guys are fighters, man. Like I hate when I hear a fighter or a trainer say, even when a commentator or an interviewer talk to a fighter, oh, you didn't have to take this fight, but you did. I commend. Why would you even say that? There's no way for me to be an elite fighter, and I'm going to sit here and say to another, I didn't have to take this fight. So what did I sign up for? I signed up to become a champion, to sit here and hold a belt on my shoulder, act cocky and arrogant, talk shit, but fight the lesser fighters? Because that's what you're saying. He didn't have to take this fight. He could have fought someone else. Okay, why would you? Why wouldn't you want to say, I beat everybody? Or at least I fought everybody of my era. Win, lose, or draw, I got in there with them. Why would you sit and say, oh, I could have fought anybody. I didn't have to take this fight. I don't like when I hear that. So this fight right here, what it does for Jake Paul if he wins, even if it becomes a thing of people just trying to see how far he can go before he finally lose, it doesn't matter. If he wins, he's going to continue to call out guys that's not that good. Now, the better he gets, if he gets to a point where he's really getting better and he's becoming a real deal fighter, you may start to see him step his game up, but I really don't think he wants to become a fighter full time. I think it's one of these things where, like I say, he's moving at his own pace. He may never get to a point where he has to take a lot of risk. And if he does, it may be the type of thing where he's getting like 100 million or something. You understand what I mean? He's breaking the bank to fight someone that's way, way better than him. But at the same time, it's a spectacle because his brand has grown. How many professional fighters right now? Do you think Terrence Crawford made 40 million last year? Do you think Errol Spence made 40 million last year? It only, he's getting elite money level type money. And what he has going on YouTube wise and everything else, all that. This is what I'm saying. These guys need to learn whatever he's doing, him and his brother. They need to learn how to be successful, along with boxing, outside of boxing, along with whatever. Because these guys are broke, man, or like their money is like far lower than his is. And they're real fighters. They're world-class fighters. They're not fighting meatballs and whoever they can. Some of them do. But bottom line is this is what he's doing. And again, it's not healthy for boxing. It's healthy for Jake Paul. It's healthy for the entertainment side of what he's doing. But boxing, no, it's not healthy for boxing. No. That's why you got people thinking that they can just, like I said, jump in the ring and fight anybody because they don't respect boxers anymore. They really believe. You tell me this. During any era of time, idiots are idiots. And you have people that they dare you to hit them because they know if you do, it's a lawsuit. Do you think anybody really wanted to fucking jump in the ring and or try to attack Mike Tyson just for the sake of it? You think anybody really thought they could just jump in the ring and just beat Muhammad Ali? You think anybody thought they could just jump in the ring? And of course you have people that are stupid. But I mean, overall, no, boxing, they understood what it was. And they know, no, you have to train and become a fighter. So again, for couch potatoes that sit and watch Jake Paul and Logan Paul and sit and watch their YouTube shows, their podcasts and all that, then they sit and think that, yeah, anybody can just jump up and box. They don't think anybody can just jump up and do MMA. They don't think anybody can just jump up and do Muay Thai. You understand what I mean? They don't think anybody can just jump up and become a kickboxer, but they think anybody can jump up and just become a boxer. And that's what this type of entertainment does. So yeah, he's become smart and understand how to promote himself and put himself in the spotlight. But again, these fighters need to step up. Nah, since you're a world-class fighter, you told Eddie Hearn that you can beat, anybody, right? You can beat, you're better than half the fighters in the stable. Then yeah, I want that challenge. Put it out there. Put it out there. Guarantee you, at some point, people are going to start, Jake, why don't you fight this guy? And what's his excuse going to be? But you got to understand, his following, as I said, it's not a boxing following. It's a Jake Paul following from what he's been doing on YouTube. They do not respect boxing. They feel proud of him because they feel like, well, yo, if he could do it, anybody can do it. We all, look where he come from. They don't see him when he's training and putting the work in. They see him sitting behind that microphone talking shit, doing what he does on his podcast. That's what they see. So to them, he's not even a real fighter. But he's in here with real fighters and beating them. That's the misconception. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.